Welcome to week 7 of the Top Self-Care Program. I'm Patricia Amborn, and this week we'll begin to discuss how our mind influences our success in practicing self-care. In later weeks, as part of this section of the self-care program, we'll be reviewing emotional issues, negative self-talk, creative visualization, and resistance to change. This week we'll be discussing self-esteem and assertiveness, touching on the roles both of these factors play in our ability to care for ourselves.
Do you like yourself? Do you know what's important to you? What makes you smile? Do you value yourself? If you can answer yes to these questions, you probably have a pretty good sense of self-esteem. If you struggle with answering yes to any of them, you may have an issue with it. A simple way to define self-esteem is that it's an attitude of feeling good about yourself. Esteem means high regard or high opinion. So it also includes respecting yourself, believing in yourself, and loving yourself just the way you are. Recognizing your strengths and your natural talents and giving yourself a break when you make mistakes are also a part of self-esteem. At its most lofty level, self-esteem represents appreciating your own worth and importance, and then being accountable to yourself and others. So having high self-esteem is important to you and to your family, friends, and community. When you feel better about yourself, you can make a positive difference in the world around you. Experts tell us that self-esteem is developed through our early experiences. Our parents and their parenting style, other family members, our childhood experiences, and our early environment all play a significant role in developing our sense of self-esteem and self-worth. Our friends, teachers, and other authority figures also play a role. And we're also shaped by our educational experiences in and out of the classroom. As we get older, the media, fashion industry, even Hollywood influences the way we feel about ourselves. Basically, every experience in our lives can influence our self-esteem and affect how we feel about ourselves. Although these influences help to develop our self-esteem, it's up to us to decide who we are, what's important to us, and how we'll live our lives. This philosophy is not new. It's been discussed throughout the centuries. To explain this concept, we want to share 3 quotes with you from wise people of the past. Henry David Thoreau, the American author, poet, and naturalist, said, "If I am not I, who will be?" This statement reminds us that we're all unique and that the world needs what only we can contribute. George Bernard Shaw, the Irish playwright, is credited with saying, "Life is not about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself." This quote lets us know that it's our responsibility to create lives that are of importance to us. And Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, said, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom." This quote encourages us to take time to understand ourselves and to learn who we are, regardless of other influences around us. These quotes can help us to realize that everyone has a purpose and that the world needs our unique and individual contribution. We're not meant to be the same, and so we must honor our unique qualities and love ourselves as is. This takes self-esteem. Many of us rarely think about self-esteem. We're usually too busy trying to survive. And while we are often quite content to take care of other people and to help them succeed, we sometimes keep ourselves at the bottom of the list. Why do we do this? As hard as it is to admit, it's usually because we don't value ourselves, and we tend to take care of what we value. It's important to consider how you feel about yourself because your self-esteem affects the choices you make. The choices you make affect your life. I should probably say that again. The choices you make affect your life. Without high self-esteem, you might make bad choices. You may not set appropriate boundaries for yourself or others, and you may not be able to manage your time. You could become indifferent or depressed, and you could lose hope and miss out on the joys of life. You can make bad choices when you don't value yourself. Are self-confidence and self-esteem the same thing? Most behavioral experts would say that self-confidence and self-esteem are related, but they're not the same. Self-confidence can be defined as having a realistic confidence in your abilities, judgment, and power. This confidence is usually developed through learning new skills and knowledge, and then testing these abilities. Experiencing success and getting positive feedback from your peers and superiors helps you feel even more successful. Building self-confidence can boost your self-esteem level, but surprising as it sounds, you can be self-confident and still have low self-esteem. If you've decided that you need to increase your self-esteem, how do you do it? The first step is to start loving yourself, no matter what you look like or feel like, no matter what your job is or what your relationships are like, or where you live, or what you've done or experienced. This is called unconditional love. It's the no matter what kind of love. And even though you may not have gotten this kind of love in your childhood, or if you don't have it in your life now, you can unconditionally love yourself, starting today. You begin by actually getting in the habit of saying, I love you to yourself, and by focusing on your strengths. We discussed this last week when we asked you to try this exercise in front of a mirror. It's so easy for us to say, I love you to our family or friends or even a pet. But it's hard to say this to ourselves, so please be patient when trying this new kind of positive thinking. Another way to boost your self-esteem is to surround yourself with positive, supportive people and to avoid critical, judgmental people. We all know individuals who seem to complain about everything and everyone. And, well, it's their right to behave this way. You don't need to expose yourself to their negative attitudes. It's emotionally draining, and it can make you feel bad. Feeling this way lowers your self-esteem. Finally, you may want to start giving compliments to people. It's been proven that giving compliments to other people has many benefits. When you compliment someone, you're certainly making them feel better, but did you know that giving compliments makes you feel better as well? Giving compliments can help boost your self-esteem and the self-esteem of others. There are some simple actions you can take to boost your self-esteem. You can start by taking steps to treat yourself better. Remember that if you value yourself, you'll take care of yourself. You can start by making a choice to eat better, to get some rest and exercise or move more. You can make these changes in small steps. Try to take some time to enjoy simple and beautiful pleasures, like appreciating flowers or listening to music. You might even consider getting yourself a pet. Pets will love you unconditionally and provide a lot of positive companionship. You could also try to smile more. It's been proven that something as simple as smiling creates positive chemical changes in your brain and enhances your well-being. Smiling is contagious too, so when you smile, you'll be helping others to feel better too. Before you start to improve your self-esteem level, you need to be aware of how you currently feel about yourself and why you feel that way. Once you accept your self-esteem level for what it is, you can then decide if the way you feel about yourself is positive or not, and if it works for you in your life. During this process, you need to check your attitude, because your attitude influences all of your thoughts. You can choose to change the way you feel about yourself, regardless of any negative influences that you've experienced. It's your choice. You can choose to love yourself. Once you've decided to improve your self-esteem, you should think about how you would like to feel about yourself and what's preventing you. Many of us have had less than ideal childhoods, and the experts say that it sometimes helps to reinvent your childhood. Think about the child you were, and think about ways that you can love and support that child. Focus on your strengths. Give yourself hope for the future. This takes some imagination, but the exercise is well worth it. When reflecting on your self-esteem, please remember that, like everything, you have a choice, and you can choose to build up your self-esteem instead of tearing it down. Some of your negative thinking may come from experiences that you had when you were a child, and those thoughts are really no longer relevant to who you are now, because you've grown and are evolving, and you've had successes in many areas. Remind yourself of those successes and your strengths, and be patient. This kind of inner growth does take time, and you're worth the effort. Assertiveness is a positive trait, and it's closely linked to self-esteem. Assertiveness is often defined as feeling comfortable in your own skin and being able to stand up for your rights without violating the rights of others. You're assertive if you can express your personal likes and interests spontaneously without feeling self-conscious. Accepting compliments, asking for clarification, and being able to securely say no also represent assertive behaviors. Assertiveness is not a personality trait, but a behavioral style that can be learned. In order to be assertive, you need to believe that you have the right to express yourself in your own way without fearing judgment. Assertive behavior is often confused with aggressive behavior. Aggressive behavior is exhibited when someone voices their own feelings at the expense of another's. Think of it this way. The message behind the aggressive behavior is that one person is better than another. The message behind assertive behavior is that each person is simply being themselves. Assertiveness training does not turn nice people into bad people. It's your right to protect yourself, to stand up for yourself and express yourself, as long as you don't do it in a negative way that hurts others. Being assertive has many health benefits. When you feel that you can't express yourself or be yourself, you can become depressed, angry, resentful, and anxious. These emotional states bring stress and negatively impact your health. When you improve your self-esteem, you'll probably find yourself becoming more assertive because you'll value who you are and you'll stand up for your right to be you. You'll start making choices that make you happy because they'll personally be suited to the unique person you are. This week we talked about self-esteem and assertiveness. We identified many factors that contribute to your emotional development and your self-esteem, but we also discussed that you are responsible for understanding what you value, who you are, who you love, what kind of life you want to live. You are ultimately responsible for understanding who you are and for loving yourself as is. We presented that low self-esteem can cause you to make poor choices and possibly cause depression and other negative health issues. We provided some ways for you to improve your self-esteem through behaviors and actions that you can change. We also discussed assertiveness as a behavior of becoming comfortable in your own skin and being able to stand up for yourself. We discussed how not being assertive can cause negative emotions like depression and anger, resentment and anxiety, which can impact your health. We hope that you take some time this week to reflect on your self-esteem and to also think about situations in your life where you could be more assertive. Remember that being assertive is not a negative trait, but that it represents behavior that lets the world know that you love being you.
Well, that's it for this week. We really enjoyed sharing this information with you, and we hope you found it valuable and life-changing. We know that we covered a lot of material, so don't forget that you can revisit this class at any time. Next week, we'll continue our discussion on the mind by discussing emotional issues such as anxiety, worry, anger, and irrational ideas. We're looking forward to sharing this information with you. Have a great week, everyone.
Okay. So what did y'all think about that? Anybody get anything that they want to talk about out of that? Oh, Edie, you're muted if you're talking.
Okay, I like the part. I like it. I like the part about loving yourself. And we do that at church. When we get to church, our pastor has us to hug ourselves, put your arms around your front and wiggle and call your name as you're saying that. And that has helped me a lot. So I do love myself, but then you think, oh, before I learned how to do this, I didn't even think about loving if I loved myself or not. Um, But this has been the approach to doing that makes you feel good about yourself.
Right.
I'll just speak a little bit to that. The part that talks about believing in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think before you can really pretty much accomplish anything, whether it's a weight loss goal or any other kind of goal, you at the very foundation, you've got to have enough belief in yourself that you can do it, or that you have what it takes to get into doing whatever your goal or whatever your purpose is.
Right.
The other thing I saw, that I like the distinction between assertiveness and aggressive, and being assertive and being aggressive. I think that's very important, um, which is applicable in all areas of our life, whether it's, in personal relationships, on the job, even in our TOPS chapters, the difference between being assertive and being aggressive in whatever it is we're doing or saying.
Right. Okay.
Another thing that was brought out that I heard was being sure about yourself and believing in yourself and not letting your own self-esteem, um, anybody influence your self-esteem, uh, and being in that place of security.
Yeah, and being self-confident, and
Yes.
and having low self-esteem and trying to be confident, it's hard to do. It really is. Um, okay. All right. Anybody else have anything they want to add, or something that just kind of stood out, that or you learned something new or anything?
This is Joy. One of the things that really makes me cringe is when I hear friends or family members talk badly about themselves. They call themselves names. That was, I was so stupid. I shouldn't have done this with, and just all of this negative self-talk. And, when you say those things, you convince yourself that those things are true. And so I think one of the keys to building this is to not only to say positive things to and about yourself, but to refrain from the negative.
Right. Yep. All right. Very good. All right. So next week will be emotional issues. What's eating you? So that'll be week 8, and we'll have that next Monday. Okay.